Team, welcome back to the day 9 continuation for our QTP training. What we're going to do today is we will start with a new project altogether. We will explore how we build a keyword-driven framework ground up. Okay. As part of trying to understand the nitty-gritties of developing this framework, we will also learn a lot of new concepts, specifically things like descriptive programming, why is it needed and how and so on. Okay, but what I definitely want you to focus is that these topics tend to get a little bit more advanced in terms of the programming and the overall logic that we use. So it is important that you watch it as is, take notes, and then come back and review it as with practice later. It is not QTP, Selenium, all these programming languages as well with it are not like learn it once and then you master it. There's a constant effort that is needed for it, and that's the reason you've got at least a year's access to work on them. Okay, the videos. So please watch the videos with the assumption that you're getting an overview the first time, and as you go deep into it, repeat it and then practice with it. Okay, that's how you master these tools. Now, to do this, the first thing I'm going to do is I will go into our folder and I will create a new subfolder in here, and I'm going to call it as KDF. All right, KDF. KDF for keyword driven framework. What is a keyword driven framework, team? I will come to it at a later point, but what I want to show is how we go about writing or going about creating something like a keyword driven framework. Okay, I'm going to take a template that I've done earlier, but we will walk through most parts of these details as we go along. Right. Now N27 automation plan. It says FB Facebook, but it says application is dice.com. I'm really not sure which is what, but we will come to it. The reason I've taken this is a template because it will be easy for us to move at a certain speed due to this. All right. Now, what do we do in a keyword driven framework? How do we go about using it? Okay. Now, unlike earlier, we will not start with the QTP in mind. What we're going to start is with what is it that we tend to do at the end. Okay. Let us say that currently what we've seen in a data-driven framework is I have got different sets of data. Okay. Let's say X number of test data, and I have one test case or one test scenario. All right. Then what happened is I had a constant QTP script, one QTP script that had all the steps in here, exactly what has to be done. And each set of data was taken at one time, read into it. Then we went about doing something on the application, and we correspondingly got the results and updated the Excel and so on, right? Now, typically what happens in an automation world is you don't have one test case. You have many test cases. You have hundreds of test cases, and in fact even sometimes thousands. Right? So then how is that handled differently in our world? And that is where we get into that functional regression testing team. Okay. What is regression testing is, let's say this block out here is indicating the entire application functionality. Let's say there is an application like dice.com or whatever, any application. Okay, every application has different modules or different functionalities and features and so on. Let's say these cells out here are representing each functionality. Okay, so one functionality for the employee or the consultant or candidate to start looking at the different jobs. One to create their own membership, be able to upload and so on. The other is for searching, is a big functionality within it. The other is if you are an employer, then how does it work? Then there are administrative things. Then probably there are trainings that they offer. So there's so many features, so many different functionalities and features, right? So this was all not done for this dice.com application on day one. They started with something base. They said, you know what, let me start with something that we can quickly need, that the market needs and so on. Simple job search. Okay. Then they said, hey, you know, it will be nice for candidates to come in and upload the resumes. And they said, let's add the candidate section, and then members to maintain all their details, and then job employers to come in and log in. So slowly they started adding to the application. So every time the application goes through a change, or you need to test the entire application and see what happens. And each module can have dozens or hundreds of test cases, right? So to test an application, you need to perform the entire testing. When I add new functionality, let's say this block out here, I'm adding. It's a new functionality that we're adding into this. Then I have to test how this new functionality is behaving. Is it correct or not? I also have to test and see, has it affected any of the older functionalities because they're integrated somewhere. There are some common things to be used and so on. So we have to do a regression testing or repetition of the entire test and see not only the new changes but also how the as-is existing application is behaving overall. That is regression testing. Okay, so to perform regression testing, there is a lot of repetition of what one does. There's a lot of repetition because each of these tasks that we have here, they have to be performed again. And these are great candidates for automation because you don't see the functionalities changing significantly every time. Now, to do that, what will happen then is you will have not one test case, but you are going to have multiple test cases. So multiple scenarios that need to be handled. Now, what is one option? One option is that I could, or we could go about creating one QTP script for every test case. Then if I have, let's say, 1,000 test cases, okay, then we have 1,000 QTP scripts, and that becomes a big challenge to handle. Okay, it could be 1,000 plus or minus. It's not exactly. Some we could reuse, some will have function libraries and so on. So it becomes a very huge automation test suite, as we call, okay, automation test suite or automation test set of scripts and all that to manage. You need a lot of coding, you need a lot of maintenance, and it becomes like a very large sized development project by itself. Now, what is the alternate? The alternate is to try and develop this new framework called as a keyword driven framework. Okay, what keyword driven framework does basically, team, is this. Okay, we have a test case. Okay, a test case is primarily broken down into different components. Okay, what are these different components that I refer to? Components are, let's say, first are the steps. What are the steps that each test case needs to get performed if they need to execute that? How do we go about doing test case execution for each of those? Now, to do such a thing, you tell what the steps are. Let's say the first step is log into a URL, go to a URL. The second step is, let's say, click on a button. Then you go to a sign up form, and then you fill in the form with all the details. Then you submit the form, and then you verify that the results have come, and then you verify that everything has happened well, and you log out. Okay, so every test case is built of many steps. Okay, now each step can be broken down into one simple step which a user performs. If this is to fill a form, let's say the step is to fill a form, this filling a form could be broken down into another 10 or 15 steps or 20 steps depending on number of items in that form, right? So number one is to break down the entire test cases into smaller manageable test steps. Okay, that is what we have to do. Once, and all this we are talking about without automation in the picture right now. Okay, now what we're saying is, once we identify the test steps in a certain manner and the test cases in a certain format, if we put them, and if I can teach QTP to, instead of writing everything as VB script, in such a way that it can go and read the test cases automatically and understand what test steps it needs to execute, and then go about executing that in the application. Can that be done? Okay, so that at a high level is trying to do something called as give a keyword to each test step and then execute them. Okay, so what could those keywords be, team? What could those keywords be? Think about it. If you think about these kind of keywords, they are basically, you are clicking. Where are you clicking? You're clicking on a button or a link or an image, right? Or a drop down, you may not click really, or anywhere. Okay, so these are the, or even a text. Let's say you're clicking on a text also. Actually, don't need anything to click on a text. But isn't this what typically any user performs using a keyboard and a mouse? Right? Then what else is there? Okay, you can click on a drop down box, not drop down, sorry, a check box. Okay, you can click on a radio button and so on. You also can enter text. You can enter text into a text box. You can enter text into a text area. Text area is nothing but a text box, a bit larger. You can also start entering text like you're sending keyboard keys into a list, drop down list. Okay, or you can select from a drop down list. All right, and so on. So typically these are the common keywords that one can perform. Am I making sense, everyone? So I'm just saying how easily things can be broken down into something very easy to do, easy to understand, and easy to work with, right? So at the end of the day, whatever be my test case, it has to have multiple test steps. Whatever be my test step, it has to have one of the associated keywords. A few other keywords like open a browser, close a browser, navigate a browser. Okay, a few more things will slowly keep coming up saying that verified text and so on. Now, the first thing, so okay, for example, is login a keyword? Yes, it is. But what we're trying to do is break it down further into individual steps. Then what will happen? To log in, you will enter text, you will enter password, you will probably click on a checkbox like remember me or not. Then you will click on a button. Those are the 4 steps a login operation can be broken down. Okay, so now the strategy is this. It's a very important plan and strategy. The strategy is, hey, can we in that case build a list of reusable keywords, okay, as reusable component functions. For example, if I want to click on a button, okay, let's say very simply if I want to click on a button. So this is a function that will perform that. What will it do? It will just click on a button. So if I pass the details of where that button is, okay, just one details of where the button is, will I be able to click on it? Yes. If I want to enter text into another box, so if I say where that text box is and what I want to enter into it, is that not enough to perform this? If I want to select something from a drop down list, similarly again, so where is the drop down list and what is it that you want to select from the existing options, right? So you have these possible keywords. What we're saying is, let us create each of these as functions. Okay, let's create these functions and keep them aside so that tomorrow if I have a new test case, like someone was saying login. One second, please. All right, sorry, I had to hide the attendee list because some of the members didn't want to have the email, password, everything being shown up there. Not password, but email IDs and all that. Right? Yeah. So we can take a different application instead of Dice. We can also take Twitter. Not an issue with that. Okay. Now, what will happen with these is I will create test cases and then tests. What was I saying? Test steps. And then I said we will create these keywords. Okay. So now the whole process of creating this keyword-driven framework can be now broken down into these sets of steps. How we create, we will follow these sets of steps. So let's say twitter.com is the application that we're trying to handle. Okay. If everyone is okay with twitter.com, we can try. It's not about the application because we'll focus on the keyword, this whole automation steps. Okay. Now, what are the steps that we need to really perform? Okay. What we will perform is, number one, we will create a few test cases. That is the first thing that I think we should do. we will create a few sample test cases, test steps, and some test data that we can use, okay, for an application. Then we will create a few reusable keywords, functions using descriptive programming. Why and how I will show you, okay. Even in fact, before that, what I'll do is we will have another subtask. Create list of reusable keywords. That's the first thing that we will do. Then we will say create QTP functions to handle keywords using descriptive programming. Okay. Now we will write initialize test data and write basic script for one test case. Driver script, read test case, initialize test data. Again, why initialize test data? I don't know. We'll say write basic. This includes everything. Write basic script for one test case. Driver script. Okay. Again, I don't need initialize script for some of. Okay. No. Then error handling is important. And then test task and test framework. Okay. So at a high level team, these are the steps that you will follow. Okay. We will get into very specific. We may increase the steps and so on. But these are the high level steps that we will follow. Now, what are these steps, team? The steps are all about saying how do we go about creating a framework. Okay. 1 second, please. All right, so I think now let's go about creating a few test cases and test steps. What do I mean by saying test cases? Let's say that here is a format for creating a test case. Okay, the reason we use a specific format is so that it will be easy for QTP to understand where is what, okay, and what we're going to create or put for each of these. Now, the first thing, if you see out here that we will put is you can have different modules that you're working with. Okay, you can break the application down in different modules, and then each module can have different test cases. For a test case, you give it a name, an ID that is unique to it, a name that describes it, detailed description of what it does, and then so on. Okay, these three columns out here is basically when you want to execute how things should look. Okay, and then we will go about filling those. We will come to these columns a little later, E, F, and G. Now, let us look at the application and try and understand at a high level how we can do that. So I'm going to go to itelan.com. Oops, why am I going there? Sorry, twitter.com. Okay, so here is an application. Okay, now every application has functionality. We as test engineers, automation or manual, will need to perform a lot of testing to ensure that yes, this is what we need to be doing, ensuring that the application is working correctly. Okay, let's say that we want to test the sign-in at the home page. We want to also test the new to Twitter sign up. Okay, we also want to test and see if welcome to Twitter, this message is existing in the home page. Okay, so three test cases. Okay, one is login verification, another is sign up verification, other is home welcome text. These are the different things that we want to verify. Now let's give it a name. I'll say this is TC001, this is TC002, this is TC003. What is login? Verify that user can log in with valid details. Okay, can verify a new user can sign in. Okay, verify that the home page has the required welcome text displayed. Okay, this is what we wish to see on the application. Now, how do we do this? How do we see how this is available on the application? The way we will work with this is that the first thing that I will do is put those steps down. Okay, even if we don't talk about automation at the point, let's just focus on the manual portion. We will write the test steps that we will use to execute them. Okay, so for each test I will write different steps in it. Now here is a test step sheet. I know it's too colorful, wouldn't prefer such high colors. Let me get a little bit more sober about it and put some details in here. Something here. Okay, there are a few things here. Okay. The first thing is a test step ID, okay, or even whatever you want you could put in here, but all I'm saying is a test step ID. Okay, every step you can put a description to it and a keyword to it. Okay, this actually, let's put it as test case ID itself, doesn't matter. This test case ID and this A and B column is basically linking this sheet called test steps with the test cases sheet. Are you seeing what I'm saying? This specific section is linking the test cases sheet with the test step sheet. So that way we know which test cases belong to which test steps. Now, what is the first test case we have? Login. So I'm going to put that here and say there are different steps that the login requires. What is the first step that the login requires? Open IE, open browser, and go to URL. Now, what is how do we do that? You have to provide a URL for it. Okay, so there is a test data that is required. Keyword, don't worry. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, insert. Now, I will not use any of these right now, so I'm just going to hide them. Okay. Here, I'm going to say there's a test data that is required. What is the URL? The URL is http:// okay, oops, twitter.com. That is what we wish to do here. Now, after we do that, what is the next thing that we need to do? Enter a username or email. Oops. Enter username. Then enter password. Okay. Then click on remember me. Okay. Then click on sign in. I need to get some test accounts team so that we can test it tomorrow. Sign in. Then verify, sign in. Somewhere we have to verify, and then we will log out. Then we will close the browser. Now, if a manual test engineer comes in today and tries to execute this, he or she is going to perform these steps. Okay. Yes, they will also do a few more verifications like, can I see username or email here? Can I see password here? Can I see remember me and forgot password, sign in, and so on. Now, this is one test case. I could have different flavors of the same test case and ask it to do different things. Okay, verify that the username or email is being displayed out here, or the on mouse over, it is showing us username or email. So different things can be done. For example, let's do that also. Let's say there's a new test case 004, and here login alt text. Okay, so all that I'm doing is verify that the login widget, let's call it, has the correct alt text. What do I mean? I'm saying that, hey, when a user goes over this and puts a mouse over, he or she is able to see username or email here. He or she is able to see password here. He or she is able to see sign in is nothing. See, it's not showing anything. Let's say even this, we expected it to show something. And remember me, does it show anything? No. Forgot password? No. Only for these two it's showing. So what are the steps for it? Very simple. Let me copy whatever I can as a base. Okay. Whatever I can as a base, let me copy it. Insert, copy cells. I'm going to now call this as TC004. And what is the name? Login alt text. Oops. Login alt text. Okay. And now, what was I saying? Okay. What are the steps for it? I don't need to enter anything. Verify the alt text for username. Similarly, verify the alt text for password. Okay. Then we're not clicking on it. But what I'll say is I also want to verify okay, let us say that that is expected, that on the sign in, come on, Control C, Control V, for sign in button, and then close the browser. That's it. It's a different flavor of a test case. Now this way you go about creating dozens of different combinations of test cases and keep them. We're still not talking about automation right now at this juncture. Okay, we're still talking about simple manual testing. Now what we have done is we have created test cases and a few test steps. Now, for example, sign up. What is it? Very similar. It's easy for me to take a base and then start going about creating from that base. So this is, what is the name? Let me copy the same name so that there is uniformity in what we're doing. Okay. So sign up is the same thing. I am not even talking about clicking, going into the detailed sign up. This is new to Twitter. Okay. So open browser. I will also verify that the new to Twitter text is present. Right. Enter full name, enter email, enter password. That's interesting, right? And then click on sign up for Twitter button, right? And then we will confirm next page, close browser. This is one version of a sign up right now. Okay, as you go along, you may create different flavors of it. So each time that I'm doing, what I'm doing is I'm creating a few steps for them and filling up the information. Anything to do with automation in this? No, there's nothing to do with automation in what we've done so far. Okay. First, I'm gonna color it back as this. Select only the cells I'm interested and put this here. Select the text, put the black. Okay. So now that's the reason I had given different colors, because it's easy for me to identify which is what test case. But let's see if I can select something very subtle so that it's easy on the eyes. Okay. This is one color. This is the other color. Okay. This is the other color. Okay. There you go. And this, let's put it as darker with a brighter back. Why is all this needed? Nothing. It's just aesthetics. It's just ease on how and clarity of what we're trying to do. Okay. The neater it is, it looks easy for us to do. You could continue to give steps for each of them. Okay. You can say that as for each of this. So test case 1, step 4, step 5, step 6, step 7, step 8, and so on. Okay. So same thing. I'm going to copy. I click and just paste values. Okay. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we have created 3 test cases. Okay. So how do we go about working with this now? Okay. How do we do it in a normal fashion, and how do we do it using something more advanced first? So first, let me launch up QTP on the background and just show you how we go about automating it and so on. Now, before I get into the real automation with it, let's go back to our plan and see what is it that we were trying to do. We wanted to write a few test cases, test steps and test data. We've done about, let's say, 70% of it. Okay, we've done about 70% of it. We wanted to create a list of reusable keywords. We haven't come there yet. But then so on. But now, team, as we go along, there are a lot of things that we want to achieve. Okay, so we will have to cover a lot of these different topics as a process of getting to learn this. Okay, now list of reusable keywords. So as I mentioned earlier, let's talk about list of reusable keywords, and so that I could put and link this test step sheet with specific keywords. Okay, what are the different keywords that we will perform for this? Okay, let's start giving it in it. In fact, let's take a function list here. Is it this one? Okay, I'm gonna delete all of these. Actually, I don't like this format. I'm gonna delete the sheet. Okay, environment variables. This is a very old sheet that I've used. Actually, it doesn't matter because we will anyway create a lot of new things for ourselves. This looks interesting. Delete. Okay, keywords. I'm going to call this as keywords because the names and the terms that we use also are very important. Team, so far any questions on what we're doing? At least the approach that we're trying to take. Now, every keyword, if you notice, can have a list of objects to it and methods that we need to perform on it. Okay, so far we've not really gone into the descriptive properties or what can describe a object. So team, before I move forward and explain you certain portions in that, please go back and visit the QTP training tutorials. So you'll see it under video tutorials, QTP videos here. Please go there and refer to the descriptive programming, which is in chapter 6. This is the time you should definitely try and finish watching at least before tomorrow or day after the basics of descriptive programming. The first video is a free video anyway, but other videos you can use your login and then join. Okay, the second video, first and second video are very important. Then the couple of other videos are about smart identifications and automation object model. That you can look at it later as well. But descriptive programming 1 and 2, please definitely look at it. Just watch the video like a movie. Don't do anything else, and just practice with it parallelly. Okay, not practice with it parallelly. Take notes with it parallelly. You can practice later on. Now, we will use descriptive programming to write these reusable functions. Please note that. Okay. Now, what are the different keywords that we can construct? So to construct keywords, the first thing I will do is let's look at the different objects that we may be working with on this given page. Okay. Do I have an edit box, team? Yeah, I have an edit box, right? What can I typically do on an edit box? Click on it, is it? No, we want to type something into that edit box, right? Or the method is set into it. Now, do we have a checkbox here? Yes. What will you do on a checkbox? Click. Or I'll say check. I'll say check or uncheck because I don't know by default if it is already checked or unchecked. So I can check a checkbox. I can uncheck if it is already checked. Okay. How about links? Do you see any links here? Forgot password is a link, correct? So now what can you do for a link? You can click on it. How about a button? What is it that we can perform on a button? We are going to click on it. Okay. Anything else that I see? Yes, I see text. I need to verify if a specific text is present. So I have text and verify that a text is present. Also, we've got something called the new thing called this alt. Alt is I think it is the real HTML meaning is alternate text. Okay. It basically, when you go over an object or even an image and so on, it shows some information about it. Okay. And that is alternate text. For example, on my website also, if you go to a lot of these places, like let's say crack your interview, it doesn't show. Events, does it show? Pricing, does it show? No. A lot of images, right? If you go over and put your mouse over, it will show you some text. That becomes your alt text that we want to do. Okay. So I also want to verify alt text, I'll say, if a specific text is there for an object. Okay. Now, this is what, let's say, and then, browsers. Okay. Browser, open. Okay. Then browser, close. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use the same out here. Color right now. Browser navigate also, yes, we need that too. Browser navigate. All right. Now, for each of them, let's give a keyword through which we can easily identify what we're trying to perform. Okay, that way, my test steps sheet here, we have not come to test data yet, Tim, we'll come to it a little later. My test step sheet is linking with the keywords sheet. That keyword name is important so that I can link it. Like a test case has an ID, your keyword can be a simple ID, it can be a number, but something that you can easily identify, it's even better. I'll say set, instead of set, enter text. How is this name for entering a text into an edit box? This is supposed to be unchecked. check box or uncheck box. Okay, click link, click button, verify text, verify alt text, open browser, close browser, navigate browser. Now these are the keywords that we will do. We will give this a name, a unique name that we can identify. When we get into QTP, we will create something called as a function library, which I'm going to walk you through in detail, and we will create a lot of these functions. I will start putting it first in a test library here, and then we go about creating it into a function. So let's say enter text is a keyword. So to enter text, what I need to do is provide a function for it. Function name is enter text. Okay. Do I need to pass in input parameters? I don't know right now, but I know what it's supposed to do. Okay. What are the inputs to it? I don't know right now. Okay. What is the output for it? I'm not sure yet. It is supposed to enter a text in a text box on the browser. That is what this specific step is supposed to be performing, this specific function. How will it typically look? There will be a browser, some name XYZ, okay, dot page, let's say ABC, dot web edit, right? Let's say GEF dot set the text that we want to enter. Okay, so the input one is this. How do we identify the entire object, the web edit, where is it located, in which page, in which browser, and the text? Okay, so I need to send information to be able to identify both those things. So one input is I'll say what's that, v object, okay, comma v text. So there are two inputs that will come into this. One is an object, comma v text. Now how are we going to set that? Please watch these couple of free videos, not free videos, these two videos on descriptive programming, and then we will go very detailed into it. I don't want to repeat the same concepts again because we have a vast majority to cover through this keyword driven framework. It's at least 5-6 sessions that we will take to complete this. Okay, so as you go along, we will complete this or not. Okay, started working on it, this is pending, we have not started yet, and so on. Now for each of them we will say what are the inputs required. The first input is v object. How do we identify the object for this? Then the second input is v text. All right, checkbox, something similar, what will be required, and so on. Once you complete your descriptive programming videos, I don't want to write it in this way. I want to use descriptive programming, how we identify the page, and then how we identify the web edit into one specific object identification directly. All right. So please come back, watch those videos and come back, then we'll go. But right now we can do something else. I could go to my test steps and see if I could link any of the, oops, what did I do? I'm supposed to unhide. So select everything, unhide here, any of the keywords to these steps. So I have my keywords here. Now I know what each of the steps are doing. I can probably pick the keywords that I have from this sheet and put it there. And also what are the inputs that I need to pass. Okay, so these two will become very essential, very interesting. Now I could probably use pick from drop down list. No, but here I need to go into data, data validation, list, source, keywords, and this, come back, ignore blank, in cell drop down. Okay. So now I should be able to pick from the existing list of keywords that we have created in here. What do I need for open browser and go to URL? I can use open browser. Okay. Now for enter this is not come here, so I'll copy it here. For entering a username, enter text. For entering a password, enter text. If it's the same keyword, then how will it differentiate, team? How will we differentiate if it is the same keyword? By passing different values. One input, let's call this as first input, if it's easier for us to identify. Okay, and then second input. Okay, one input to identify, another input to probably give some additional details. For example, if it's a drop-down box, then we'll say one to identify the drop-down box. The second is to identify which text to select from that drop-down box. Okay. Now here, click on remember me. So do I have a click on remember me? It's a checkbox, right? Check box. That's what we will do. Click on test sign in. This is a click button. Okay. Verify sign in. We'll verify a text that is there. We will log out. That will be probably a click link, because log out might be a link in that page. We haven't yet done it, so we don't know it. This is close browser. Okay, so we started associating our test steps with these keywords. This concept is very important, please. Okay, how we structure test cases, how do we structure test steps, how do we structure the keywords, and so on. Then we go about in a very, very organized fashion creating a specific keyword for each of these things, and then how do we go about creating something called as a driver script. Okay, this is very, very interesting to bring them here. Then we'll get into on error, error handling, error reporting, and so on. Okay, error handling is one, error reporting is the other one. We need to look into how we handle errors, and then how do we report errors. Okay. So a lot more steps. I'm sure we will add a few more to it as we go along. But at this point, any questions before we come back tomorrow and finish from this? Also, we will need to go through descriptive programming. So please watch that video. If you're just watching the videos, before the next video in this series, definitely watch the video before this on descriptive programming. Line item 7 does not seem to be associated with correct keyword. It could be. Let's see. In fact, we will know. 7, logout is a click link. Line item 7. Okay, are you saying this one? Verify sign in, verify text. In fact, I'm not even sure. Right now, I just associated keywords based on what I think. In fact, this test data will be no longer here. It will, in fact, move out here. Let me do it right away. Why should I keep it? This test data, let's say, is the one which we will use to put in here. Okay, delete. First input, second input. How did you get the keyword drop down? Okay, so that's just an Excel thing. All you need to do is, let's say that I need to pick up from a list of keywords here. Okay, so all I need to do is go into that specific cell, click on the data validation under data tab, and then you select allow from a specific list. Then you provide the source in here. To provide the source, either you type it or you use this arrow here, click on it, go to the specific sheet where you want to choose that from. Okay, let's say you want to choose it from here, in fact. Okay, select those cells. It should get displayed here. Click back on it so that the original window comes up, and say OK. Now, whenever I go here, I should be able to see those values there. All right, so that is how you create these drop-down boxes, where you're able to pick from a specific list. All right, any other question, please? Question: QTP throws error on creating Excel object using create object excel.application. Okay, now the reason QTP may throw error when you're interacting with anything is, one, it cannot find the application. Application itself is not there, in the sense that Excel file in this case is not present. Or two, we are not giving the way it requires it to do it. In the case of an Excel, first verify that the Excel file is there in that specific location, please. Second thing, if it is an Excel of 97-2003 version, that is with an extension of .xls, then just give the entire path using ~.xls. Okay. If not, and if it is xlsx is the file extension, then do not give the xlsx in it. Just give the name of the path as the name of the name of that Excel. And I think that should take care of it. It's a common problem. In fact, in the discussion forums and the Google groups, you will see that very easily coming up. Let's see. Sumit Kumar has typed the same question 6 times. Let's see. Hi Karthik, can you please explain how can we decide which framework we should use? But again, Sumit, you're jumping the gun, right? If you are in a hurry to understand, because there's no theoretical answer to it. It's a very practical answer. Okay. Go back to the QTP tutorial videos. Go to the framework overview videos, QTP hybrid and other frameworks. Do you see this? Here, there is a video which specifically walks you through all the frameworks. Overview of frameworks and learn the pros and cons and decide which one to use. Do you see this video file? Watch this video file. It has your detailed answer. All right. Okay. Is error handling different from the application errors or script errors? Okay. So, yes, great question. Now, there are 2 types of error that comes up. One error is because we did something wrong in our coding, right? So for handling that, we will do a debug, okay? And I'll put that also as a step. We will in fact do a lot of debugs, so I'm not putting that as a specific step in it. So we are going to do a debug run or dozens of debug runs to ensure that our VB script, QTP, everything is in proper shape. But then there are errors that will come up on the application. Then what do we do? For example, I say click on a button and the button is not present. What will happen? QTP will throw an error, then it will stop, right? But I have dozens of more test cases to execute after that. Is there a possibility that it could then stop executing that specific test case and move on to the next test case for execution? But that is error handling. But at the same time, I want to report where probably out here and put saying that there is an error that occurred at that specific step when I'm trying to click on something, and take a screenshot and put that URL for that screenshot here and say and point why did this error occur, so that it is easy for someone to come back and replicate what has happened and then see what caused it and fix it. So it will help you to log a defect. It will help the developers to be able to reproduce that defect at that time. All right, so that is something you could do as part of error handling. So let's see. One second, please. What did I want to do? Okay, I just wanted to go back to the plan and update a few things here. I'll just say about 40% done in this case. We will come to creating this out here. It's just 5% out here right now. Okay. So this is done. Let me see. Team, let's see what is happening. Nilima, I've answered. Okay. Do we need to have test cases in Excel sheet for KDF programming, or can the test cases in other tools, QC or internally developed tools? Okay. You need to have a specific format for test cases. You can put test cases into Quality Center, okay, and say that and associate each script to your QTP, okay, and say that execute this, and so on. And then QC will go about introducing that and it will execute it. Here we have a different output altogether. That is why we are not putting anything in QC. We're putting it into an Excel sheet. You can maintain it in Quality Center also, that's fine. I can't see the variable values in debug viewer in QTP version 1.10. What is the reason? So not sure. What happens is, one, you need Microsoft Visual Studio or something like that to be able to see the debug viewer. All right. If you go to view and you select debug viewer, it should come up for you. Okay. If it is not coming up for you for some reason, where is this now? Mine. There you go. And if it's not showing this tab, then you have to install a debug viewer, Microsoft Debugger or something. That is done during installation. Go back and reinstall QTP, and at that time select Microsoft Debug Viewer. In fact, you can go and search for a Microsoft Debug Viewer and install it on the system. That will take care of that. Seema, search through the Google group. There are dozens of posts and solutions on it. How to select a particular row from an Excel sheet. What do you mean select, Rachna? Isn't that what we've been doing as part of data-driven framework so far? Right? How we went through each Excel row. So please go back to those videos. When we come to this Excel part again, we will be doing that. We will in fact be going through each row in the test case and executing it. We will in fact import all this into our data tables and start working with directly. It's regarding the videos. Karthik, we have sent the email. We have sent the email. I don't know if it is you or you're saying as a group you've sent. Okay. It doesn't have a click option to play the videos. Especially this link seems doesn't have, after being logged in as well, we couldn't see any video. Okay. So team, just a very simple message for everyone. Okay. Very simple logical areas, please. Once you log in, you go to your welcome page. Okay. That's the first thing you need to do. Okay, and in the welcome page you have all the links to the different tutorials currently available. If you click on the specific video, you should be able to go and click on any of this video and play for it. Okay, now if you don't see the video itself, there could be high reasons that you're not logged in. So for example, if I log out of my Access, all right, now I am not logged in to the application. So at this time, if you go to your members area, if I go to, or even if I go directly to my QA videos wherever, okay, I will not see the video. I will only see an icon, image for it, okay, just a display saying that content is so and so. If you don't see it, then please, you can go and send an email. The team will definitely respond back within 24 hours, but be clear about what you have as an issue. They will come back with you. All right, let's see now. How will you know if the error is QTP related or app related? Yes, that is the most interesting portion. We're going to come and cover that at length, Krishna. I tried again, removed XLSX, also provided correct path in variable for Excel sheet. Still, it throws the same error. Okay, Mayuri, very simple. Send an email. You know tech help email, right? At itelearn.com. I'm putting it in here in the chat. Send an email there, okay? And say that here's the code, here's the thing, it's still happening. What is the issue? All right, put it in the group. Otherwise, the forum for QTP is still not very active on the website. I will get people navigated there soon. All right, everyone. Thank you. Then we'll talk to you later, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you. Sorry, one quick question. Shalmali, what was your question? Video for day 8, part 1 is not playing. Okay. So again, team, please keep questions relevant to the session. If the other questions, send an email. We will definitely come back, look into it. Okay. I will review video 8 again. Thank you, everyone. Bye now. Take care. Thank you.